What should you do if you try to plot your drawing and your plot preview does not show you what you're expecting? We have a lot of opportunities while we're plotting to have things go a little wacky. Normally, we should be able to go in, we should be able to set a plotter, paper size, plot area, centered, scale, plot style, and normally we get exactly what we were counting on. Sometimes though, it just doesn't work. For example, in this preview, I'm only seeing part of the drawing, not seeing the entire drawing. And in this preview, I don't see anything. So what do you do if your drawing's not appearing in the center of the piece of paper like you expected it to? Let's talk about a few things that might help as you try to troubleshoot through the problem. Okay, normally the setting for extents should work just fine. A lot of people don't turn on the extent setting for the plot area, they leave it on display. Well, that will be a problem if part of your drawing is not on the display or not on the screen. If I try to plot with the display plot setting, see, we're only getting the part that was on the screen. So make sure that that's not the problem, that you are in fact plotting the extents. You've set all your settings right. You're trying your best and things aren't happening. So why is that? Well, let's go to our plot settings and we will set our plotter. And we'll go to extents and we'll center. We'll go to the scale that's been specified. We'll pick the proper plot style and we'll preview. And again, we're getting nothing. Why are we getting nothing? When plotting's not working is double click your wheel and zoom the extents of your drawing. Double click the wheel, click, click, and then look at this thing. There's this huge thing floating out here in space. And you know what AutoCAD's trying to do when you say plot the extents? It's not just trying to plot that little drawing down there, it's also trying to include this big planet floating out in space here. So it's probably plotting somewhere around here in only 8.5 by 11 of that area in the middle between the two things. So once you get rid of things floating out in space, and if you can double click on the wheel and this is the only thing in the drawing, well then we'll probably have a much better plot experience. Ta-da! There we go. Now, sometimes you will do everything right and it will still look wrong. So what that means is AutoCAD has kind of flubbed on the extents and it needs some help. So here's the help you're going to give it. Instead of plotting the display or plotting the extents, you're going to specify a window. You're going to tell AutoCAD exactly what you want it to print. So click on window and then you'll see AutoCAD's going to ask you some questions. It says you're plotting, specify the corner of your plot. So how about right up here? So I will click here, click, and as I move my cursor I see I'm making a rectangle. AutoCAD's asking me specify your opposite corner. So I'll click here. And now what I'm doing is I'm telling AutoCAD, hey, only plot the things I drew the box around. See, these are the things I drew the box around. Okay, so if the problem is not solved by setting the extents, make sure you specify a window. Now another problem that we run into is plot scale. If the plot scale is not right, we're going to have trouble at plotting time. If I set my plot scale up at fit to paper, then it takes a small drawing and makes it fill the whole piece of paper. Is that a problem? Well, yes, it might be. So you need to pay real close attention to the instructions to figure out what scale should I be plotting at. Every single assignment has specific instructions on what scale to use for plotting. This particular assignment asks you to plot at a scale of 1 to 1. 1 inch on the paper equals 1 inch in the drawing, which gives you a small figure that doesn't fill the entire paper. Now, not every drawing is going to use that 1 to 1 scale. Okay? Now, this assignment for the office, this office is a big area. This is how big a piece of paper is in comparison to that room. So now you think about it, if you were trying to print out this room at 1 to 1 scale, you are only printing that much of the room. You might see part of a wall, or maybe some of a chair, or a couple of leaves on a plant, but look how little it is compared to the room. You're never going to plot the whole thing. So sometimes the instructions will give you a different scale to work with. On this drawing, we set our plotter, our paper size, our extents, we center. On this one, if you try fit to paper, you're getting nothing. You're getting one line. So on this one, the instructions are to fit it to the paper rather than that 1:1 scale. If you're trying to print at 1 to 1 scale, you're not going to get the results you want. So in this case, we're told to fit to paper, and that will shrink it down until it's sized to fit on the paper. Now we preview it, and now everything fits on the piece of paper. This drawing here, when we were setting it up, we probably noticed that it was kind of big. This drawing here is quite large. It is 15 1/4 wide, 9 1/2 tall. We can't plot this at 1 to 1 on a piece of 8 1/2 by 11 paper because it's too big. So now the instructions for this particular assignment are going to tell you to change the paper size, and then with the right size paper and the correct area and the correct scale and the correct style, everything should work out just fine. Sometimes things aren't just a little bit bigger, sometimes things are enormously bigger. In this case here, we're talking about a classroom, and then the border around that classroom is 64 feet in length. We certainly can't plot this at 1 to 1 scale on a piece of 8 1/2 by 11 or even 11 by 17 paper. This drawing is going to require some different scaling. So you'll pick your plotter, you'll pick your paper size, you'll set your extents, center, and then for your scale, in this case, we're going to print at an architectural scale where 1/4 of an inch on the paper represents 1 foot over in the real world and in the CAD drawing. Still monochrome, preview, and that should take care of us.